So this message is often expressed as there's no me. Um, there isn't anyone here. And that's true enough, good enough. But really what it's about, what it's saying is there's no separation. There's no duality. And it's showing up in a place of duality, an appearance of duality. This message of non-duality appears. And it's often expressed, like I just said, as there's no me. Or, at least that's the summary. So, but like I'm saying, really what we're saying is pointing to the fact that there's no separation. So me really is just shorthand for separation. The idea of separation, the idea of division, and the experiencing of that, which actually can happen, doesn't happen. There is no division, and there's no experiencing of division, and there's no experiencing, in the sense that experiencing is division. Experiencing is me having an experience of an experience. Me experiencing. Well, that isn't what's going on. But that is the way it appears. So there is an appearance of division, and there's an appearance of me. And we're just always pointing to what is in all of that. That division is nowhere. There is nothing divided here. We have to assume a kind of division to talk, to speak, to do what we do as appearances. Everything is appearing as divided, as separate. So the fact is it's a kind of a trick. And what performs that trick is language, mind. This thing called mind, which we don't know what it is, but it's a way of basically taking what isn't separate and making it appear separate. So it can come in with its knife, its cutting apparatus, which is what mind and language, is able to do. Cut what it can't be cut, what is simply here as it is, cut it into pieces, and then create knowledge. Now we have things. Now we can know about them. Things we can know about. Things that all go together to create a story of knowing and a story of things happening. And that all includes me. So all of that is done with this idea that I am here, I am me, as separate. Creates separate. And then there's some confusion about it all, because again, it seems separate, and the me seems to be this separate thing that is taking the separation to be real somehow and trying to deal. Well, that's what you do with what's real. You deal with it, reality. But actually that isn't the case. That isn't happening, and there's nothing to deal with. And there's no one to deal with reality. Because in a sense, there's no reality. I mean, there is reality in the ordinary way that, a table is a table, and there is a reality of a kind, but it's not a separate reality. It's an apparent reality. It's a reality of appearance. And appearance is, again, the way everything seems when it's looked at as separate. When this activity of separation has been applied, again, the activity of mind and words, language, thinking. So all of that creates duality, and separation, we could say, creates the appearance of a world and of a me, because every world has a me, every appearance has a me to appear to. So the appearance, say, what's here, what's appearing to be here, is an idea, essentially. Well, actually, appearance, as I'm saying, appearance and idea are the same thing. They're two words for one thing. Everything that appears, an appearance, say an appearance of a tree, is an idea of a tree. There's nothing appearing without this idea of a tree. And there's no knowledge of what a tree is and where that tree, all this knowledge that is part of the idea of this appearance of a tree. So every appearance appears as an idea. And same thing, every idea is something that appears. An idea is appearing. Now those two words are different words. In the dictionary, they don't just say, appearance, see idea, see appearance. No, they have different independent definitions, and we use them in different ways. But I'm just pointing to the fact that they are actually the same thing. You can't divide appearance from idea. And actually everything is like that. All the words are like that, all the ideas are like that, everything seems to be separate, seems to be different. But the different always is really the same thing. There ultimately isn't any way to divide and have a real, clear, real division. Divide the chair from the room, from the space that it's in. You don't have chair, you never see a chair that's not in space. It's not, the chair and the space are the same thing. It's just another example. I could go on forever. I'm just pointing to the fact that that's also true with everything, and that's why when we say things are separate, like me, it's just a shorthand, but it's forgetting that it's really not. It's really includes. To say it's separate, it includes the fact that it's not separate. I'm trying to point to the fact that from the me point of view, we assume that separate is really separate and not non-dual, not altogether. We forget that part of its identity, as it were, the nature. The nature of a tree is to be part of everything, to be everything. There's no way to separate the tree from everything else, even though we do it as through language and through the habit of thinking in the ordinary way. So you might wonder, how I got here from talking about me and talking about no separation. But that same thing is going on with me. I'm assuming this me is the assuming of this real, assuming separation is something real, assuming me is something really separate. So the other side of that is that I end up living an experience of that. So this isn't just a technical matter. It's not just academic. I mean, just the way I've been talking, it's kind of almost like philosophy, epistemology or something, or metaphysics. But it's not. It's because the me, which is the assuming of the separation and the denial, essentially, of forgetting the non-separation and putting separation on top, in front, and pushing the non-separation out the door and forgetting about it, essentially. There's implications to that. It feels some way. It creates an experience of being in a life, and that life feels not good, not free, not whole. We call it separated. What do we call it? We call it suffering. That's what we call it. I was going to say we call it separation, but the suffering is what comes from the separation. And I can go on and do the same little, the thing that I did with what was I talking about? Appearance and idea. I can do it with separation and suffering. They're the same thing. You don't have separation without suffering in this sense. And you don't have suffering without separation. They're the same thing, even though they seem to be two different words. But again, the point is, this is to be the me, is assuming this separation. I just explained why it isn't true. But there's an implication. It feels it's a problem. It feels not okay. It's not okay. And that's essentially why we're talking about it. It's not true, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't. There's a fly in the ointment, and it's a conflicted experience to be me. And what it means is this division is carried out through every moment, every aspect of my experience. It's full of this division. The division, the separation, is the stuff of me and the stuff of my experience if I'm holding myself as separate, as me, as I am me. It's essentially an embattled, there's the kind of war going on. To be me is to be against the world and against myself. So again, those are the same thing. We ordinarily think of the world and me being two different things. Again, you go in the dictionary, they're not going to have the same definition, but they are the same. Like all the other things I was saying. You don't have me without a world. You don't have a world without a me experiencing the world. They're the same thing. They're two aspects, two sides of the coin. And every coin has two sides. There's no one-sided coin. So me is really just, again, this division, this operation of dividing that from this, dividing the world, my experience, from me. I put a line. And then that creates the battle. That creates the war, because now I'm in conflict with the world on one side, and I'm in conflict with myself on the other side. It was fine until I made this line, and now I drew the line, and now there's a battle. And the battle is without and within, in a way, just to say it in words. And it doesn't, again, there's no difference between without and within. There isn't any without and within. I created those. I created the idea of without and within. I created the idea of the world. I created the idea of me with this simple act of dividing and separating. But with the separation, with the creation of me, there's the creation of this battle. Battling me, battling the world. We can put it in other terms. We can say trying to this job now of trying to find me and trying to understand the world, trying to get with the world and trying to get with me, trying to get aligned to everything. Because again, the division created a misalignment. When you draw a line and create two things, you've created a misalignment, a conflict. I mean, anyway, that's why we say there's no me, but the point of it is this line drawing business never happened. We assume it did. That's the assumption of the me. I assume everything's different. I assume I'm here in this world. So the non-dual person comes in and says, no, there isn't any me. There's no me. This assumption is that there's a me and it's not true. Well, what that means is that the separation didn't happen. It's not happening now. It isn't. It just isn't. It's an idea and it's an appearance, but it isn't. It isn't what's here. So that's it.